circling back to the Clippers for a second, should that team be in the mix? And not just because of the continuity stuff of not being able to get these guys playing all the time, but just like, is this working? Like I think they have too many guys. My too many guys theory, which Daryl Morey scolded me on one year in Houston. I was just like, you have too many guys. He's like, that's ridiculous. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How can you have too many guys? It's like, well, there's 240 minutes in an NBA game, and you can only play 5 people at a time. And if you have 11 guys who love to play, not awesome.
Yeah.
And I do feel that with the Clippers, that they don't seem like a happy team watching them lately. And then on top of it, with you don't know where Kawhi or Paul are coming from. I also don't love their guards. And I think guards are the most important they've ever been with the way the style of the game and the way the leagues have gone. And I would say they're below average on the guard standpoint. What else do you like, or what else do you not like about this Clipper team?
I mean, they're confounding. And some of it is what you're talking about. Like on paper, they do have too many guys. And you could see that from the preseason perspective. I wrote about this for The Ringer about like having the ability to feel through the season and figure out which guys fit and which ones don't. You can make trades, you can consolidate. There should be lots of options available to you. And yet I don't feel like we've really had like a very like clear answer of like who their preferred players are.
Who's your 5?
There's been stints when like, Robert Covington, who could be an important part of this team, is just like totally out of the rotation entirely. Obviously, they've had to do like all kinds of things just to accommodate not having Kawhi or not having Paul George at any given point in time, or not having John Wall at any given point in time. He's been managed a lot this season too in terms of his health situation. So it's really hard to get a feel for that. I think what makes me pause about the too many guys thing being a problem necessarily is that by and large, their defense has been good. And that's where I would expect if there were a too many guys problem, it would be guys like, yes, they might hunt shots. Yes, there may be offensive problems, but like defensively, if the attitudes are bad, that's going to show in the bottom line. Like they're not going to guard if they're not bought in on the idea. And the fact that they're still pretty solvent offensively gives me some hope that there's at least a level of buy-in there and a level of like, okay, we have the pieces we need. We just need to figure it out. That said, there's a lot to figure out. There's just so much more that the Clippers have to sort out between now and the start of the playoffs than any other team in the league. And they're not giving us much reason beyond just like the talent on paper to be confident in that theory at all.
Did you see this Kawhi? They ran this Kawhi stat today that he has a .743 winning percentage
overall
in the regular season, and then the
Makes
playoffs,
sense.
it's like 80. What? But I locked this away a while ago because I was always fascinated by the winning percentage stat, and I never understood why it wasn't a bigger deal. Regular season and playoffs combined, there's only 4 guys ever, and I don't know if Kawhi qualifies for this because I haven't seen the combo stats. There's only 4 guys ever who are 700 and higher. Magic Johnson, Bill Russell, Tim Duncan, and Larry Bird.
Wow.
And Magic was the highest at 728. That's regular season and playoffs combined. So I think Kawhi is close, but it did make me think like, I think it's the strangest career of all the great players, right? He was the best guy in 2019 for a title team. He was also a finals MVP in a series that had LeBron on the other team. Every year his teams have been good, but yet he's missed like crazy amounts of time too. It's almost like the parallel would be Bill Walton if Bill Walton played more 45 years ago, but there's really nobody like him. I think he's going to retire and we're going to have a lot of trouble putting the career in their perspective. It's like, he kind of was as good as like he was on that LeBron level for a couple years.
Yeah.
But he couldn't sustain really any of it. But yet I still feel like maybe he's on that level. I don't know. He's the most confounding guy in the league to me right now.
He's going to be the ultimate, like, do you value peak or longevity guy, right? Like if you purely value who was this guy at his absolute best, he could probably go toe to toe with a lot of the greatest players in NBA history.
Ceiling wise, yeah.
Yeah, ceiling wise. It's just, and we may need a third categorization for him because it's not even like peak and longevity. There's just like an availability question where you almost can't compare his win percentage stats to those guys just by the sheer number of the games played, the sheer consistency of those games played, and more importantly, what those games mean. You know, if you are an every night superstar presence and your team is winning 70+% of its games, that is a franchise-altering development. And Kawhi Leonard can still be a franchise-altering player.
And he wasn't that for the first 4 years in San Antonio. That it didn't really happen until 2016.
No. And I mean, that's a a whole nother way in which Kawhi is a phenomenally weird player to consider is you still hear a lot of noise about his exit out of San Antonio and what happened. And he's one of the only players, at least in that superstar position, to be a finals MVP and then just walk away from a championship winning team in the fashion he did in Toronto. Just an incredibly strange case in almost every historical respect.
And then you have some pretty crazy what ifs with him too, right? It's like, what if he doesn't get hurt in 2017? Could they have really gotten toe to toe with them? What if San Antonio doesn't trade him to Toronto and he goes another direction? What if the Celtics said, fuck it, we'll trade Jaylen Brown for a year of Kawhi. We'll see what happens.
What if he was a career Indiana Pacer and never made it to San Antonio in the first place?
Right, the George Hill trade. That was a good one. Then the Lakers one is the other one where it looked like it was going to be him and LeBron together. And maybe they go get Davis in a year. And instead, that's not how it plays out. Wait, what was the chronology of that? Yeah, Kawhi didn't work out, so then they traded for Davis.
That sounds right.
Yeah, but maybe they could have traded for Davis anyway. So you have that. And then with this Clippers thing, you have that 1 year where it really seemed like they were probably going to win the finals. So they seemed like the safest bet in 21. That was when he goes down. And we end up with Bucks Suns. And then we end up with that fork in the road.